The last divisional prediction, the AFC East. Here we go.
All right, so if you guys are new here, we always start at the bottom and work towards the top. So I think in fourth place is the New England Patriots. Now, there are a lot of things to like, right? Especially things that we know aren't flashy but win in the NFL. Good run game, very good offensive line, experienced coaching staff from Bill Belichick to the defensive side of the football, and now they bring in Bill O'Brien, who's very experienced, right? So good pass rush, stable secondary. Like, these are a lot of things that help win. Quarterback who, yes, there are still some questions on his ceiling, but is highly capable. We saw that in his rookie year when he had a good offensive coordinator. He now, again, does. So there's no reason to believe that he won't be at least competent. The issues that the division can kind of cannibalize itself a little bit, right? Like, you go through their schedule, there's not a lot of areas to get wins, and you'll see the wins that you can pick out are the ones where they play a weak quarterback, right? Like, I don't see them with the lack of firepower on offense to be able to go compete against the better quarterbacks. They're just not going to be able to compete on the scoreboard, right? Like, in the trenches, I think they'll be fine. It's, can they keep up, basically? Like, when they play a Burrow, an Allen, a Lawrence, right? Can they keep up?
Well, even a Tua in Miami.
I don't think so. Yeah, you're right, Tua. And the Dolphins play them well over the last, half decade or so. The Patriots 8-9. I mean, you could argue me into 9-8,
honestly.
But there's not a lot of wins in terms of double digit. Like, I don't foresee them getting double digit wins. I do think they missed the playoffs, but they'll be competitive almost the entire season.
Mm-hmm. I think Bill nabs him a couple wins, just him alone, right? Like,
we were talking about like that Daniel Jones game, for example.
We're going through the schedule. There's just some games where you pause and you're thinking, this is a game where Bill Belichick comes in and just schemes the other team just straight to the ground.
So there's a stretch here where they have Sam Howell in New England, Anthony Richardson comes to New England, and then you go to Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. Like, those three quarterbacks, I'm sorry, you just don't have a shot.
No, that's going to be a really low
You just don't have a shot.
Give you a little insight on the betting, a little way too early bets for those guys. Yeah, I'm taking the under. I feel like
I think the under would be a safe bet.
Little points scored, especially against that Bill Belichick team. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be good, but they are in a very, very good division, and this division keeps getting better.
Yeah, I would agree. The New York Jets in third. Now, this might piss some people off, but I think 10-7.
Absolutely it will.
That might be the ceiling. I mean, look at the first 6 weeks.
It's brutal.
Of the New York Jets schedule.
It's brutal.
So you get the Bills, Von Miller,
yep.
Greg Rousseau, the depth of that defensive line. Then you go to the Cowboys, Micah Parsons. I think they were like second in sacks last year. Then you have the Patriots, which we'll talk about Josh Uche in a little bit, and that pass rush. Studs. The Chiefs were second in sacks last year. Then the Broncos, who, yes, they traded Bradley Chubb, but they still have a very, very good, deep defensive line.
Yeah.
And then you have Philadelphia. You have the Giants. That's their strength. Then you have the Chargers. That's Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Like, there is not. And then you go to Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. And then you go to the Bills again. Like, there is not a lot of reprieve for that offensive line, who we know that's the weakness. Like, so their first 6 weeks, if they can make it out, we could argue their first 8 weeks are tough. If they can make it out 3-5, which I think is about where we have them, they'll be fine. They'll be able to finish with about 10 wins because later in the season it gets pretty easy.
It lightens
right?
up a little bit.
You got the Falcons, the Texans, the Commanders, the Browns.
The Chiefs are snuck in there too, though.
The Chiefs are early, though. The Chiefs are early.
Okay.
Right? So down the stretch, they'll be able to crack off some wins. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to be very good. The question is, can they bail water until the last half of the season? Can they make it through the first 8 weeks 3-5? If they can, I do think they'll finish 10-7. But that's a huge if with that offensive line. I don't have a ton of faith in this team, I'm going to be honest with you. I think they'll maybe get the seventh seed. I don't view them as a playoff winning caliber team, right? If you look, yes, we know the AFC is loaded with top quarterbacks. It's also loaded with top pass rushes, right? And so whenever you get in, if they get in as the 7, who are they going to play? The number 2 seed, probably the Bills or Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like, those defenses get after you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to work for them. So
No.
10-7, I think they're out in the first round if they even make the playoffs.
It's going to be interesting. I want to give them more credit because Aaron Rodgers is a really, really good quarterback, and we know that coming into the season. But we've never seen Aaron with a horrible O-line like this.
No, he's always had at least a top 15.
And like we said this last week, Aaron Rodgers is aging, okay? He's aging.
Yeah.
As you age, you are going to become more injury prone. If you are getting hit for, I guess I would say the most in your career up till this point.
Oh, 100. It'll be 2 years worth of hits.
Especially early on.
It'll be 2 years worth of hits.
This is going to be like hell week starting out for the Jets. I mean,
I would agree.
It starts with a bang, and it just does not
8
ease
weeks
up.
of hell week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's going to be brutal. I think 10-7 is being honestly very optimistic. Some may disagree, most of the Jet fans, but whatever. Miami in second place. I think 11-6 feels about right. Look, it all depends on Tua's health. Can he stay upright? I mean, for the sake of discussion in terms of predictions, I'm not gonna predict the kid to get hurt, right? Like, I do think he'll stay upright most of the year. Maybe he misses a game or two. That's about fine. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, probably the best wide receiver duo in the league. I think A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith have an argument, but I would take Miami's duo. The run game with like a Kyle Shanahan type system with Mike McDaniel is going to be good. Offensive line is weak, but getting better. Defense is going to be good. Vic Fangio, I think, is a steal at defensive coordinator. They got, Bradley Chubb off the edge. Ramsey can hopefully come back sometime before week 8. And if he does, I think they'll win a lot of football games. I think 11-6, depending on Tua's health.
Yeah, that's what it all hinges on. And I think they have the pieces there. Everything is set up. They can really compete in this division. And them being a number 2 in this division is actually it comes with some praise.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
They're going to be competitive. They're going to really battle it out with a lot of tough teams, but it's just all hinging on Tua's health. And I'm just not sure how much faith I can put into that. Of course, we're not going to predict him to be injured.
Right.
But I would say you have to look at the odds. You have to look at and examine the trends. And what we've seen so far doesn't look great. But if he can, this is going to be a good team.
Is this the biggest boom or bust team? If Tua's healthy, am I crazy to say 13-4 and in the top 5 teams in the league?
They have a tough schedule too, and they actually catch the short end of the stick, unlike the Jets, because the Jets get Kansas City at home, they get the Chargers at home. Those are games where Miami's traveling. Miami's going to LA.
You look at, they go to the Chargers.
They're going to Kansas City. They're going to Arrowhead.
They're going to Arrowhead. They go to Philly.
And am I wrong? They get the Ravens at the end of the year too.
They have to go to the Ravens at the end of the year. They have the Cowboys late in the season. The Titans are always well coached. They're late in the season. No, they definitely have a tough schedule.
By no means is this a cakewalk.
But when Tua is healthy, he's a top 3 quarterback in football statistically. Yeah. I don't think he is, but statistically he was for the first 8 weeks last year.
This is going to be
if he's healthy, I think the ceiling for them is AFC Championship game. The floor is a 6-win football.
Is this the most interesting team in the NFL right now?
It's the biggest boom or bust team. I think they have the largest disparity between their ceiling and their floor.
That's fair.
I think it's fair. I think Buffalo also finishes 11-6. We'll give them a slight edge. We have them at 5-1 in the division. The Dolphins at 4-2. And also, I just think there's more I can rely on, right? Like, they are going to take a step back. I think the Stephon Diggs thing, I don't think it's everything, but it's something to keep your eye on. Like, that animosity, it's something.
Noise is never good. So
yeah, and we saw the turnovers go up with Josh Allen. I don't expect him to go back to Brian Daboll level. I do expect him to minimize the turnovers, but I don't think he returns to absolute, no doubt about it, second best quarterback in football like he was with Daboll. The run game's still not there. Offensive line's still not there. I do worry about the secondary in terms of their health. They get banged up a lot. Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, right? Like, those guys in the secondary get banged up a lot. But there is more I can count on. Josh Allen, stable head coach, right? Like, they do have pieces that I've seen it. I've seen it before. I've seen them win at a high level before. Miami, I haven't. So that's why I think they do get the slight edge, and they're going to be better, a little bit better in division.
Yeah.
Buffalo at number 1. You could argue me to 12-5. We were kind of back and forth. I do think they take a slight step back, which lands them at 11-6. But 12-5 is certainly on the table for this football team.
Well, I think one of the biggest things. I mean, like, when you have the best quarterback in the division, it's really hard to move you out of that spot. Now, I was thinking, like, just logically, I mean, you can go through the wins and losses, but just logically, do you see Josh Allen losing more games than Tua? I don't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, quarterback play is a great way to predict this, and I mean, it's Josh Allen.
It's fair.
I know he's not going to be the same level quarterback that he was with Daboll. I get that.
I will say their schedule is tough, right? I would argue their 4 toughest games are all on the road. They go to Cincinnati, they go to Arrowhead, they go to Philly, and they go to the Chargers for the last game of the year. Or, I'm sorry, third to last game of the year. Like, that's...
I mean,
those are their 4 toughest games.
This entire division has a tough schedule.
And the Jags are going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
They get them at home. No, they're in Germany. So it's like they don't have a lot of good games at home. Like some of the games that you're like, oh, hopefully that's in Buffalo and it's snowing. They're on the road.
Yeah.
So not ideal. To run back through that, we have Buffalo at number 1, Miami at 2, the Jets at 3, and the Patriots in the basement, lacking the offensive firepower to keep up.
Yeah. It's going to be a damn good division. And that is the last of our divisional predictions for the season.
Feels good.